When you're looking to purchase a restaurant, it is essential that you have a good team behind you, good accountant, a good restaurant consultant coach, someone who understands not only to run the kitchen, do menus, which are very important, but also understands the complexities of commercial leases and the complexities of buying a freehold restaurant, if that's the situation you're in. You also need a checklist to ensure tick all the boxes to ensure that you get the best and the highest chance of success down the track. You want professionals you trust to help you with the process and protect your interests due to due diligence when looking for the restaurant. First things to find out, if you do find a restaurant you need or you want, trying to work out what the motivation is for selling. Now, some may not be motivated, so be very tough on their price. Some will be highly motivated, they're more negotiable, has a good chance of getting you a deal. Determine if the reason aligns with your comfort level and plans for the business. For example, you may have an existing restaurant in the process of selling, or you may be somewhere else or overseas or whatever you want to do. You may have a situation where the vendor is a big to sell, so you can maybe negotiate a settlement or negotiate something else to suit both parties. Thoroughly review the restaurant's financials. How's sales been going? They'll be increasing, decreasing. Have the costs been going up in similar levels to the prices of the menu items and the sales? Get the proper profit and loss statements from the last 3 years and ask for things like taxation returns or GST items, etc. The restaurant's debt. Are there any leases in place? Or, for example, the kitchen equipment out. Or they may have a van which deliver food to other places. Maybe you may decide to transfer the leases to your own name because it helps with your finance. That lays much. But generally, debts get paid up when the restaurant is sold. Lease outstanding payments made up, superannuation or holiday pay or payments to staff and contractors is all paid out. Get your restaurant and real estate specialists to look through these documents to see how it worked for you. Check your licenses and permits to ensure current. Now, a lot of restaurants have changed the same premises. You might have gone to Indian, to Greek, or from fast food to a sit-down dining room, whatever. Sometimes you need a change of approval. Is the current approval from the council consistent with the current use? Check it out. Check with the council. Get your lawyer to check it out as well too. Inspect the building structure and equipment. Now, is the building up to scratch? Does the landlord have to undertake certain works? Idea what the landlord's like. If the landlord doesn't like doing any work, there may be ongoing problems with the property because the landlord won't fix the outside of the building, which detracts from the appeal from your frontage. Is equipment working properly? Do you have to buy new equipment? Can you currently use existing equipment? Do you have to repair them? Have a good look at your lease agreement with your restaurant specialist. Thinking of taking over a lease, that is. Make sure the landlord will approve it. Now, the onus is on you to prove to the landlord that you're financially capable with the right business experience to run that restaurant. Now, the landlord might say no initially. I just got a very strong case to reject you if you comply by the financial aspect of it and the business aspect. They cannot discriminate in that situation. It's very difficult too. Consider the location. Is it accessible? Does it have sufficient parking, good visibility, and a safe environment? Evaluate the point of sale system. Some restaurants have very old systems, very archaic. Now, they may be tied into long contracts, which they may insist or try to insist that you take over the existing contracts. They may be totally outdated. Do you need that sort of system in your restaurant? These days, a basic system will work. You've got artificial intelligence. You can easily do programs to suit your specific needs at a fraction of the cost of what it would cost to buy this expensive software from existing vendors. Look at these things. Work with your restaurant coach to find what works best for you. Investigate any outstanding liabilities. Determine if the restaurant has any past pending or potential lawsuits. To solve these, work with the vendor to sort these things out initially. Another thing work with your lawyer to ensure a non-compete agreement with the seller. For example, they would be allowed to open a restaurant or similar restaurant in close proximity. That proximity ranges from, if you're in the middle of the central business district, maybe 1 or 2 kilometres or miles. If it's suburbs, it could be a much larger distance. Some distance where they cannot take their existing customers away because, after all, you're buying the business with goodwill. There's a factor to take care of in the purchase price. Check with their suppliers. Have they got a good standing with the supplier? Regular payments. Any outstanding debts? What relationship have they got with them? Because you've got the same name, you want to ensure that you've got a good relationship. They may refuse to supply you. So look at the suppliers. Check online reviews. When you're buying a restaurant with bad reputation, you could have problems because that reputation carries on to you. Good reviews, it's a positive thing. Inquire about the outstanding gift cards over the years, and you may find that you may have people come in with gift cards for $50 off, $100 off, and you'll be liable to give those discounts and obviously loss of profits. Gather employee records, including files, payroll information, training manuals, job descriptions, employee handbooks, if you're taking on current employees. The question that will me, other staff will stay on. In most cases they will, but the problem is you may not like them, they may not like you. If you get along, normally it does happen. As you transfer with employees, they tend to stay, they may stay for a long time, but whatever reason, the chemistry is not there, they may leave you. Take that into account. Contract information for the various items in the restaurant. Individuals and companies providing services for the restaurants, carpenters, plumbers, electricians, landscapers, cleaning crew, people that maintain the equipment, etc. Scrutinize the contract, identify any equipment, furniture, recipes, name, branding that the seller is including that you don't need or want to pay for. Go through them all. See what your customer, you may plan to make changes in the food, service style, or pricing, and you may see a decline in existing customer base. Now, if you're buying existing business with good track record, I always recommend that you just keep things going and make adjustments slowly. Doing radical changes quickly could affect your clientele because things have changed so much and it's not like it used to be, and also could affect your staff because they've got new items to look after in the menu and they're working under different circumstances. Take that into account. Prepare for integration challenges. Challenges include merging cultures, operations, team dynamics, and leadership styles. Be open-minded and willing to work with the existing team. Understand their current operating procedures. I said, don't want to change things too radically. Let it go for a little bit. See how it's running. Then slowly introduce your ideas and see how it works. It may not be as good as the existing methods. Don't be so quick to change things. Be aware of old baggage. This might include outdated offerings, inefficient processes, or negative team dynamics. Expect a high initial investment. Buying an established business typically comes at a premium compared to starting from scratch. You're buying the goodwill. Starting from scratch, there's no goodwill. Yeah, maybe a little bit cheaper to start from scratch in some ways. The equipment's there. It's not there. You've got to obviously put the kitchen in. So you've got to pay extra. You're buying customers. You're buying business. Understand the risk associated with higher investment. Projected income may fluctuate due to changes in management, and there's no guarantee of success. The chemistry may be. I've seen plenty of examples, been involved with plenty of restaurant sales over the years, and started off successful, whatever reason, hasn't worked. I had a little story, had a situation where I had a client who owned a property. I sold this restaurant several times over the years. There was a new owner of the restaurant who purchased it as a passive investment because they were developers and they wanted some cash flow for their developments, and consequently just hired a manager and a chef, which is, pretty good idea in one way. They spent very little time at the restaurant. Consequently, it wasn't passive at all. No investment is passive. I don't care what it is. Even a residential property is not 100% passive. You're still going to be involved with it. More so in a restaurant. This business was bleeding. The landlord called me and he said, would you like to talk to this person? I called him. I asked him, I'm happy to talk to him, discuss the situation. Sales half. Consequently, more than half the value of the goodwill he paid for. He had to work quickly. Unfortunately, he wasn't willing to put the work in to build it up again. Consequently, 6 months later, it was sold for a quarter of the price he paid for it. This is what can happen in a restaurant if you don't put 100% effort into it. Secure funding. Ensure that you've got enough cash because things could be slow early on and be ready for a slow period. Things could slow down. The economy could change. The things affected. And we've got pandemics, obviously, hopefully won't happen again. But you've got other things like pilot strikes and recessions and all these things come into it. So have some cash available just in case there is a slowdown in business and you need to invest some more money in marketing and maybe buy new equipment or hiring your staff or whatever. Secure funding. I have found that banks are not very generous in lending money for restaurants because most restaurants fail in the first 4 months. So you've got to have a good track record, good accounts to show the bank manager to ensure you've got a chance of getting a loan. Maybe look at investors that come into it. Pretty popular these days. And there's always a possibility of getting some help. Family, which has its own problems. Another thing which many restaurateurs don't consider is the purchase of building. Now, when you purchase a restaurant lease only, you've got a certain amount of time. Now, in my experience, I found that the sticking point is about 5 years. Now, people are reluctant to buy a restaurant with less than 5 years on the lease because normally most restaurants are sold within 2-3 years on average. Some sold within 12 months or 1 year or 2 years. Some sold 10, 20 years down the track. What I would suggest you work with your restaurant coach to negotiate. So if most restaurants are sold within 2-3 years, and your lease, think about possibly an 8-year lease. So that 1 or 2 years down the track, but there's still 5 years remaining. Now, on the other hand, if you take a long lease and you go out of it, you've got to work something out with the landlord. So the restaurant as it is, which means you may not be able to use that name again. So think about the positives as well as negatives when you're buying a restaurant. If you can afford it, look at the possibility of buying the freehold of the property, because I've had clients say to me who've been in the business for 20 plus years, I could have purchased this property once or twice. So think of it at the start, but you may have hopefully success restaurant, be there for 10, 20, 30 years maybe, you're ready to retire. You can retain the property, business to an experience and collect rent for your retirement. Think about that. Work with your restaurant coach. Plan to be hands-on and present at the restaurant, especially in early stages. As I mentioned before, nothing's passive. Even if you've got a restaurant manager there, you've got the right people working for you, you're still got to be on top of things. Things happen. Staff want to know that the owner is around watching them. Otherwise, things may get out of hand. Prioritize excellent customer service and consistent high food quality. Stay informed and adapt to industry changes. What's changing? Maybe you purchased a restaurant which is running on things that were popular 10 years ago. You may have to adapt slightly. Adapt to industry changes, such as new technology. Now you've got artificial intelligence. You can save a lot of money by working with your restaurant coach to adapt these systems to save money. Of course, many restaurants at the moment are not using them. and there are huge cost savings adapting to the artificial intelligence systems. Utilize data and analytics to make informed business decisions and track performance. It is important to note that this checklist is not exhaustive. You may add more or remove some items based on specific needs and circumstances. It is always a good idea to consult your coach, other professionals before making any major business decisions. It's critical that you go through these things to ensure the chances of success. If I can help you, my contact details with this email. I appreciate your comments and subscribe to this channel. This is Tastzidis on Best Restaurant Results.